This week, as Donald Trump is coming dangerously close to dragging us into what could possibly become World War III, there's backlash coming from inside the House. From Tucker Carlson to Marjorie Greene, everyone in MAGA world is warning him that this is a bad idea. But as we know, Donald won't listen to anyone who doesn't agree with him, not even the people he handpicked to surround him. The most striking example so far is his public fallout with none other than his director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. This started last week when Donald reportedly flew into a rage over what he saw as a quote unquote unauthorized video Gabbard posted from Hiroshima, Japan. That, of course, is where the United States dropped an atomic bomb towards the end of World War II. A veteran herself, Gabbard issued a cryptic, somber message that many interpreted as a warning: do not go to war with Iran. Take a look.
I recently visited Hiroshima in Japan and stood at the epicenter of a city that remains scarred by the unimaginable horror caused by a single nuclear bomb dropped in 1945, 80 years ago. Yet this one bomb that caused so much destruction in Hiroshima was tiny compared to today's nuclear bombs. A single nuclear weapon today could kill millions in just minutes. Just one of these nuclear bombs would vaporize everything at its core: people, buildings, life itself. This isn't some made-up science fiction story. This is the reality of what's at stake, what we are facing now. Because as we stand here today, closer to the brink of nuclear annihilation than ever before, political elite and warmongers are carelessly fomenting fear and tensions between nuclear powers. Perhaps it's because they are confident that they will have access to nuclear shelters for themselves and for their families that regular people won't have access to.
That's just objectively insane, quite frankly. But who is she talking about? Like, what political elite can you think of that we're aware of who's the one stoking fears of nuclear war? I think that's her boss. So clearly, this seems to be, anyway, a shot across Donald Trump's bow. And then, of course, we have to remember the context of all of this. Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian asset. Russia state TV refers to her as Putin's girlfriend. So Iran and Russia are allies. Maybe she's just looking out for Putin's own best interests. Gabbard's video made waves last week with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle. A lot of people were sharing it and commenting on it. Sources told Politico that Donald was furious, and he reportedly confronted Gabbard in person. Now, he is not one to forgive and forget. Last week, rumors started that Donald had iced Gabbard out of a high-level briefing on the Iran-Israel conflict. And again, she is director of national intelligence. She oversees all of our intelligence agencies, including the Department of Defense. Yesterday, Fox's Pete Ducey confirmed this, stating, quote, "We can report via U.S. official that DNI Tulsi Gabbard was not invited to last week's Camp David retreat, where Donald convened senior national security officials to discuss the Middle East. She had a scheduling conflict with National Guard orders, but was never invited in the first place," unquote. Now, Donald is shutting out the one person tasked with assessing foreign threats. Before we go on, just remember, we here at Mary Trump Media are not corporate media. We do not bend the knee. We're not for sale now, and we never will be. Every single day, we expose the lies the Trump regime tells and wants to keep buried. Independent media survives because of you. So please like and share our videos and subscribe if you're with us. Of course, ignoring Gabbard could have very serious consequences down the line, but it's even worse now that his disregard for her has come into public view, since he's ramped up his threats of military action against Iran. Back in March, Gabbard told Congress that while Iran's uranium stockpile is quote unquote unprecedented, there's no evidence they're building a weapon. This directly undermines Netanyahu's claim that Iran is an imminent nuclear threat, and it also undermines Donald's rationale for the escalation. But he doesn't care, literally. When asked about Gabbard's testimony aboard Air Force One yesterday, this is what Donald had to say.
Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having it.
He doesn't care what his director of national intelligence has to say. He knows, he thinks that Iran is developing a nuclear weapon. Do you know how dangerous that is? He's deliberately ignoring his own intelligence agencies because he's got his mind made up about what he wants to do. What are his motives? Who can say? Maybe it's because he was so humiliated over the weekend, he needs to change the subject and seem like a tough guy. Maybe it's because he's always had ambitions of launching nuclear attacks against our enemies. I don't know. Do his motives matter in this instance? Maybe. But what matters more is the fact that the commander-in-chief of the United States of America is making his own decisions without the input of anybody, including experts, because he's Donald Trump. And as always, he thinks he knows more than everybody else. Now, even Vice President J.D. Vance realized how bad all of this looks, and he tried to clean it up. In a statement obtained by News Nation, Vance said, quote, Tulsi is a veteran, a patriot, a loyal supporter of Donald, and a critical part of the coalition he built in 2024. She's an essential member of our national security team, and we're grateful for her tireless work to keep America safe from foreign threats, unquote. But the truth is, Donald doesn't care about any of that. And he certainly doesn't care what J.D. Vance has to say about anything. It's been well documented that Donald rarely attends briefings. As of last month, he'd only shown up to 12. Biden got 1 or 2 per week. Gabbard's team reportedly resorted to making Fox-style video summaries just to get Donald's attention. Now, all of this is extremely significant considering Donald's threat to enter a war with Iran. Perhaps he would be thinking differently if he had actually attended those meetings, although I have to be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure that's the case because facts that contradict what he wants to hear are irrelevant to him. Speaking off message in Donald's administration, in the Trump regime, has consequences for anybody who makes that mistake because Donald thinks he's a tough guy and he will not be contradicted. Sources say Donald is now considering scrapping Gabbard's office entirely, transferring her duties to the CIA, and sidelining her indefinitely. A White House insider told Politico that Donald has been down on Gabbard for months. And this week, Steve Bannon said on his podcast that he thinks Gabbard's firing is only a matter of time. The message in the Trump regime, if you speak the truth or contradict Donald's narrative, you are expendable. Foreign relations, starting wars, none of that matters if you are getting in Donald's way. Right now, that is getting in the way of his trying to get us into a very serious conflict in the Middle East we have no business being in. In response, it appears that Gabbard is in full-blown damage control mode. Because as tensions rise in the Middle East, Donald doesn't want us to know that tensions are also rising within his ranks. And certainly the person who is the target of his ire doesn't want anybody to know. So Gabbard is now blaming the tensions between her and her boss on the media for misconstruing her earlier statements. She told CNN, quote, Donald was saying the same thing that I said. We are on the same page, unquote. Except, of course, we were saying exactly the opposite things. It's too late for Gabbard. The damage has been done. She warned Donald. I mean, granted, it was subtle. But, you know, if you understand what's going on, it was clear who she was talking about. He completely ignored her. In fact, he came out against her in a way that can be described as nothing short of contemptuous. And now the country, thanks to Donald Trump, is inching closer to war. with Iran, which is something, quite frankly, I don't think anybody saw coming 3 days ago. It isn't just Gabbard, though. According to Semaphore, the United States Navy also dissented when Donald ordered assets shifted towards Iran. It turns out that moving Navy resources on short notice could throw off their maintenance schedules for years, although we can't expect their commander-in-chief to know such things. So this isn't just a political failure for Donald, it's a logistical one. The war path he's on is so reckless that even the military is feeling the need to stand up and say, no, not so fast. So as the walls close in on him, as there is more and more dissent among his ranks, and as his delusions grow stronger, even the people who once enabled Donald are being cast out for trying, for his own sake, mind you, if not for ours, to steer him away from a disaster of his own making. Gabbard's Hiroshima video, while dystopian and quite frankly creepy, wasn't entirely off message, at least at the beginning. It was at least her attempt to keep Donald Trump for dragging us into yet another catastrophic war, especially since, for almost a decade now, he's been pretending that he is absolutely against continuing forever wars and getting us into any other armed conflicts. But unfortunately for Gabbard and anybody else who, at least in those rare moments, has some brief conscience about the mess they've helped get us into, telling the truth becomes a liability. Competence becomes a threat when your boss is Donald Trump. Now, of course, that is not how real leaders behave, but Donald Trump is not now, and he never has been a real leader. What he's doing in contradicting his own director of national intelligence, what he's doing by ignoring all experts and their expertise, by seemingly running headlong into an armed conflict with Iran, from which there is no, at least as far as I can tell, realistic off-ramp, is having a temper tantrum in slow motion. And he's doing it as all of us sit by and watch helplessly. Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating, because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.